Chapter 1. The Cat with Golden Eyes. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and Patience couldn't sleep. Thump, 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 thump. What a terrible noise. The loud music went on and on and on. Her neighbor in the flat opposite was having an all-night party. Thump, 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 thump. Patience had gone to bed at 10 o'clock because she had to get up at 6. Today was really important. She had to show her boss her designs for the new beauty cream adverts. Patience got out of bed and went across the room to the window of her third-floor flat. She looked out and saw her neighbor and his friends. They were dancing and laughing and having lots of fun and making lots of noise. I don't want to be difficult, but I need to sleep, she thought as she opened the window. Hello? She called. Excuse me? Could you please? But she didn't finish her question because no one could hear her. Just then she heard a meow. She looked down. There, sitting on the seat of her neighbor's motorbike, was the largest cat that Patience had ever seen. It was gray and black, with huge golden eyes. The cat was watching her. Hi, cat, Patience called. Some people are having a good time, aren't they? But I'm having a very bad time, she thought. She shut the window and went back to bed. Thump, 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 thump. The music continued and Patience still couldn't sleep. Finally, she got up and began to paint. Patience loved painting. She worked as a designer, but she really wanted to be an artist. She used lots of colors on the paper: reds, blues, yellows, purples. She started to feel better. Suddenly, the music stopped. The party was over. At last, Patience thought. Then she heard an unhappy meow from outside the window. She opened the window and looked up. The cat with the huge golden eyes was on a windowsill above the window next door. It meowed again. It looked frightened. Hello again, cat, said Patience. Can't you get down? Poor thing, she thought. It's too scared to move. Come on, kitty, 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 you can do it, she said. The cat meowed again and stayed where it was. Oh, okay, cat, Patience said. I'll come and get you. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. She climbed out of her window onto her windowsill. She looked down and suddenly felt very frightened. It was a long way down to the street below. She counted to 3 again and moved closer to the cat. Come on, kitty, she said. But the cat didn't move. There was a metal box on the wall near the cat. Patience put one foot on the box and then the other. It seemed safe. She reached for the cat. Don't do it, called a voice from the street below. Don't jump. Patience looked down and saw a tall, slim man with dark hair. The driver's door of his car was open behind him. It's going to be okay, the man continued. I'm a policeman. Maybe I can help you. Oh no, he thinks I'm trying to jump out of the window, thought Patience. She tried not to laugh. A laugh was dangerous up here. She reached for the cat again, but it had disappeared. Suddenly, the metal box began to come loose. It started to fall away from the wall, and Patience almost fell. Help! She shouted. What's your flat number? Shouted the man. Patience held onto the windowsill. 23, she called. The man ran into the building and up the stairs. The metal box moved again. "Oh no," thought Patience. "I'm going to fall. Hurry, hurry!" A moment later, the man crashed through the door into her flat. The metal box fell to the ground, and Patience started to fall. Suddenly, the man was at the open window. He caught her and pulled her back into the room. "I've got you! I've got you!" he shouted. He fell onto the floor next to Patience. "Oh, thank you," she said. She looked into his dark eyes and handsome face. "What am I doing?" she thought suddenly. She stood up quickly. "Are you okay?" the man asked as he stood up. "Fine," Patience said. Her face was going red. "Never better. And you?" "Is that all that you can say, Patience?" she thought to herself. "This man's just saved your life." At that moment, the cat with the golden eyes came through the window and jumped onto the floor. "I went out there to rescue that cat," Patience told the man. He was amazed. "You went out there to rescue your cat? What a mad thing to do." "No," Patience said. "I mean, yes, but it's not my cat." The man laughed. "So you went out there to rescue someone else's cat?" "Well, you came out to rescue me," said Patience. She smiled at him, and he smiled back. He had nice white teeth. He really was very handsome. Patience quickly looked at her watch. "Oh no, is that the time?" she cried. "I'm going to be late. I've got to go." She ran to the table and picked up all her designs. She had worked really hard on them for the past 4 weeks. She couldn't be late for the meeting with her boss. "I've got an important meeting today," she explained as they left the flat. "Good luck," he said. "I hope it goes well." "Thank you," she said. She wanted to say more, but instead she just stood there. "Go," he ordered. Patience smiled. She turned to go, but she dropped her handbag. She picked it up quickly and left. The policeman watched Patience as she went. Then he looked down and saw her purse lying on the ground. He picked it up and smiled. "Today is getting very interesting," he thought. Chapter 2. A Surprise Visitor. Patience worked for Hadar Beauty, one of the biggest beauty product companies in the United States. She hurried into the office building. There were large photos everywhere of Laurel Hadar, the beautiful blonde wife of the head of the company, George Hadar. Patience crashed into someone. "Sorry," she said. Then she crashed into someone else. "Oh no," she thought. "Things are not going well today." George Hadar was a very important man. He had built Hadar Beauty from a very small company into a huge world corporation. He was having a meeting with the other directors of the company. On a screen behind him were 2 large photos of the same woman. In one photo, the woman looked ugly and old. In the other photo, she looked very beautiful and 20 years younger. George Hadar pointed at the photos. "Women want to look beautiful," he said. "They want to look younger. That's good news for us, because they will pay us lots of money for our beauty products." He laughed. Everyone in the room laughed with him, except his wife. "In 1 week," he continued, "we will give them a new product, Boline. It's the most exciting beauty product since soap. It doesn't just hide the lines on a woman's face. It really makes her skin young again." Everyone clapped. And we're going to have a new face for our new product, aren't we, Laurel? Hadar looked at his wife. Laurel stood up. Yes, she said. My husband and I have decided that after 15 years it's time for a new face for Hadare. A younger face. She sat down. The photo on the screen changed to a beautiful young woman with long, dark hair, dark skin, and beautiful eyes. This is Drina, said Hadar. The future of Hadar beauty. Patience stood in front of Hadar's door with her designs. I'm so nervous, she said to her friend Sally. These are my first really important adverts, and I want everything to be perfect. Don't be nervous, said Sally. You're such a good artist, and your designs are wonderful. Good luck. I'm going to need it, thought Patience as she walked into Hadare's office. Hadare was sitting at his desk. Laurel was standing by the window. Hi, Mr. Hadar, said Patience as she put her designs on his desk. Sit down, said Hadar. Patience sat down. Hadar looked quickly at her work. I don't like these designs at all, he said. I told you clearly what I wanted. Why haven't you done them that way? Look at this red, for example. It's completely wrong. I wanted something darker. But you said? Patience began, and then stopped. Perhaps it wasn't a good idea to say anything. I know what I said, shouted Hadar. Your clothes are terrible and your hair is terrible. It's no surprise that your designs are terrible too. I'm sorry, Mr. Hadar, said Patience. Please give me another chance. Laurel turned around. Give her more time, George. You know she's a good designer. Okay, said Hadar. By midnight, tonight. Patience got up. She gave Laurel a quick smile as she walked to the door. That's the second time that someone has rescued me today, she thought. While Patience was working on the designs, Sally was standing behind her. She was putting cream on her face. This bowline cream is brilliant, Patience, she said. Patience looked round. You're using a lot of that cream, Sally, she said. You can't buy it yet. How did you get it? Sally didn't answer. She offered the cream to Patience. No, thanks, Patience said. Well, you don't really need it, said Sally. Ow! What's the matter? Asked Patience. I've got another headache. It's okay, it'll go away. There's a man to see you, Patience, said Lance, another Hadar designer. Sally looked into the hall. Wow, she said. He's really good looking. When Patience looked up, she got a surprise. It was the handsome policeman. Hello, he said. Hi, said Patience. Sally, this is? She stopped. She realized that she didn't know the man's name. This is the detective that I told you about this morning. Tom Lone, said the man. Nice to meet you, said Sally. Well, I must go. See you soon. And she left Patience alone with Tom. How did you know where to find me? Patience asked him. You dropped your purse, he said, giving it to her. Oh, I didn't know. Thank you so much, she said. I like your work, he said. He pointed to her drawing book, which was open on her table. Thank you, she said. Her face was hot. Would you like to have a coffee with me tomorrow? He asked. There's an Italian cafe around the corner, Gracio's, on 6th Street. Is 1 o'clock okay? Patience tried to speak, but she couldn't move her mouth. Yes, I'd like that, she said finally. Great, said Tom. See you tomorrow then. As he walked away, Sally arrived. Wow, said Sally. Lucky you, but what are you going to wear for your date? I know. Why don't you wear those leather clothes that Lance and I gave you for your birthday? Patience imagined herself in the tight leather trousers and jacket. No way, she thought. That's not my style at all. Chapter 3. Midnight. Patience worked hard on her designs all day. By the time she had finished, it was 11:30 at night, and everyone else in the office had gone home. There was no one to take her designs to George Hedare at the factory. Patience decided to take them to him herself. She didn't have much time, so she took a taxi to the Hedare beauty factory. She tried a door, but it was locked. She looked at her watch. Oh no, it's almost too late, she thought. She shouted as loudly as she could. Hello? Is anyone there? But there was no reply. Then she saw some lights at the back of the factory. She walked towards them and found another door. Luckily, it was open. Patience went in. She could hear people talking in a room not far away. She walked towards the room. I don't care if women get terrible headaches when they use bowline, Dr. Slavicki was saying. I can live with that, and I don't care if women can't stop using bowline. That will make me very rich. But I don't want to destroy women's faces. I won't do it. Patience looked into the room and saw a video screen. On the screen there was a woman's face. It was an old face, with lots of lines. Then, slowly, the face began to change. It became younger and younger. The lines disappeared, but the face continued to change. It became hard like a stone. The skin began to crack. Patience turned and ran. She crashed into a table. Who's there? Shouted Slavicki. Patience ran as fast as she could. A door opened and 2 men came out. Their names were Armando and Wesley. Their job was to protect George Hedare, and they went everywhere with him. Patience hid behind a big machine. Come out, Wesley called. It's okay. We only want to ask you a few questions. Oh, good. That's okay then, thought Patience. She came out from behind the machine. I'm sorry, I think I'm in the wrong. Bang! A bullet from Wesley's gun hit the machine beside her. Patience dropped her designs and ran. Bullets flew past her as she ran through the factory. She came to a pool of dark water. There were lots of metal bridges over it, but there was no way out to another part of the factory. Patience looked up. Above her were several huge pipes. Maybe she could find a way out up there. She climbed inside one of the pipes and began to move down it on her hands and knees. Then, suddenly, she reached the end. It felt like the edge of the world. Far below her was a fast river, and between her and the river were 200 meters of nothing. Suddenly she heard a terrible noise. A huge wall of water was coming up behind her. Armando and Wesley had opened the pipes. The water crashed over her, throwing her down, down, down into the river below. Everything went black. Patience's phone was ringing. She woke up. Then she sat up and fell off the cupboard. What's happening? Why was I on top of the cupboard? She thought. Her arms and legs were black and blue, and her dirty clothes were all over the floor. Patience's machine answered the phone. It was Sally. "Where are you, Patience?" she said. "Hyder is very angry, and Tom called. He said you didn't meet him at the cafe. I'm worried about you. Please call me." "I'm not late for work already, am I?" she thought. "What time is it?" She looked at her clock. 1:50 p.m. It was the afternoon already, and she'd only just woken up. How was that possible? She heard a meow. The cat with golden eyes was sitting there. It was watching her. "It's you again," said Patience. "I think there's something very strange about you." She read the address on the cat's neck. "I'm going to take you home, cat, now." A 50-year-old woman opened the door. "Are you Ophelia Powers?" Patience asked. "I rescued your cat, and now it won't leave me alone." The woman looked at Patience. "I think you should come in," she said. Patience went into the living room. There were cats everywhere. Ophelia brought her a cup of tea. "Midnight," said Ophelia. "I'm sorry? What?" "Her name's Midnight. She's an Egyptian Mao. There aren't many cats like her. She can do special things." "You mean that she suddenly appears and frightens people?" asked Patience. "Things like that," said Ophelia. "You seem worried about something. Do you want to talk about it?" "I'm sorry, I can't. I've got to get to work. I'm really late." "Then I think you should come back," Ophelia said. "Come when you want to. I'm always here." "What's wrong with you?" shouted Hadar. Patience was sitting at her desk. "I needed those designs at midnight, but they didn't arrive, and now you can't even remember where they are." "You can't remember? I've never... Are you even listening to me, Phillips?" "No. You're a lot more interested in all this than I am," replied Patience. She was drawing in her book. Hyder quickly took the page from her. It was a funny picture of him. Fire and smoke were coming out of his head. Hyder threw the paper on the floor and walked away angrily. Patience was frightened. "What have I done?" she thought. "That wasn't me. That was a different person." "Mr. Hidari, wait," she called. "I'm sorry." Hidari turned around. His eyes were cold. "Sorry? Is that all?" "Sorry isn't enough." Patience suddenly became the other person again. "Let me explain it better," she said. "I'm sorry for every minute of my life that I've worked for you. You're a terrible boss. You only think about yourself and your money." Heater spoke coldly. "Take your things and go," he said. "Leave this company immediately." Patience became herself again. What just happened? She asked herself. "Wait, Mr. Hyder," she shouted. But Hadar didn't stop. Sally came up and put her arm around Patience. "Well done," she said. "That was so cool." Chapter 4. The new Patience and Sally were walking away from the Hyder building. "I don't know how to describe it," Patience said. "I was saying those things to Hyder, but I wasn't saying them. Another person was saying them. Do you understand?" "No, I don't," replied Sally. "But it's great that somebody said them." "I wanted to hurt him." "What's happening to me?" Sal asked Patience. As they walked past two noisy dogs, Sally jumped, but Patience turned round and hissed loudly at the dogs. "What was that noise?" asked Sally. "What noise?" Patience replied. They were walking past a jewelry shop. Patience looked in the window and saw a beautiful necklace with diamond claws. "Oh, how pretty," she said. "Oh, I don't feel well," said Sally, and she fell to the ground. Patience sat next to Sally's bed in the hospital. "Do they know what's wrong with you, Sal?" she asked. "No, but they're doing lots of tests," said Sally. "And there's some good news. My doctor is really attractive. What about your handsome policeman?" "Oh, I don't think I'm going to see him again. I'm terrible with boyfriends," said Patience. "Then stop being terrible," said Sally. "Go and see him, and go now. My good-looking doctor's coming." Tom Lone was talking to a group of 10-year-old children. He was teaching them about right and wrong and telling them about his job as a policeman. "It's wrong to take something if you don't pay for it," he said. "If you steal something, you're a bad person." "Can I see your gun?" asked one of the kids. "Can I touch it?" asked another. "Are there bullets in it?" asked a third. Lone laughed and looked up. Patience was standing at the back of the room with 2 paper coffee cups in her hand. His heart jumped. "Let's go and play basketball," he said. The kids shouted, "Great!" and ran out of the room. Patience walked up to Lone. "Hi," she said. "I called your police station. They said you'd be here. Oh, and you never got your coffee. Here it is." She gave him a cup. She had written the word "sorry" on it. "Thanks," he said, laughing. "I'm sorry I've been so strange. I've had a really bad day," she said. She thought about her day. She'd fallen off a cupboard. She'd lost her job, and she'd hissed at 2 dogs. At least most days weren't as bad as this. "Well, my day has just got better," said Lone. "I'm glad that you came." They went outside. One of the kids threw a ball towards them and Patience caught it. She threw it back. "Why don't you 2 play against each other?" someone said. "Yeah," shouted the rest of the kids. "Play against each other." Patience and Lone stood opposite each other. Patience got the ball first. Then Lone managed to steal it from her. He tried to get a goal but missed. As soon as the ball was free, Patience quickly took it. But when she tried to get a goal, Lone stood tall in front of her. She jumped up high and hit him with her knee. He fell over and she fell on top of him. They couldn't stop laughing. At that moment, one of the children shouted, "Can we have our ball back, please?" Thump, 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 thump. It was the middle of the night, and loud music was playing again. Patience's neighbor in the flat opposite was having another all-night party. Not again, Patience thought as she got out of bed. I've had enough. She walked over to the window and shouted, "Please turn the noise down over there." A moment later, her neighbor opened his window. "Get a life!" he shouted back. Then he turned the music up much louder. Patience was really angry. She looked down at the ground below and saw her neighbor's motorbike. She hissed, then she smiled. "I'm going to be a bad person," she thought, "and you'll have to take the bus." On top of the cupboard was a big box. Patience got the box, put it on her bed, and opened it. Inside were the black leather clothes that Sally and Lance had given her for her birthday. tight trousers, boots, and a jacket. She put them on. Then she went into the bathroom. First, she cut her hair and colored it red. Then she drew around her eyes in black pencil. Finally, she painted her lips bright red. Perfect. She went back to the window and jumped out onto the ground below. The motorbike was shining in the moonlight. Patience got onto the seat and rode off into the night. "It's time to go jewelry shopping," she purred. Chapter 5. Catwoman drove the motorbike very fast through the streets, with the wind against her face. She was having lots of fun moving in and out of the traffic. She stopped in front of the jewelry shop and got off the motorbike. Then she heard a crash of glass. "Oh no, someone's robbing the shop," she thought. "They can't do that. That was my idea." She ran into the shop and saw two robbers. A fat robber was breaking some glass with his gun to reach some necklaces. A tall robber was trying to open a metal box. Catwoman blew in the tall man's ear. When he turned around, she had disappeared. There was a third robber upstairs. He was a short man, and he was putting diamonds into a black bag. Catwoman quickly put a black mask over her eyes and went up behind him. "You're not very good," she said. "Look behind you." The short robber turned around quickly, but she had disappeared. The fat robber had just opened a glass box. Inside was the necklace with diamond claws. He heard a noise and looked up. When he looked at the box again, the necklace had gone. Then he saw Catwoman. She was standing next to the tall robber, and she was wearing the necklace. "What are you doing?" he asked, taking his gun out of his pocket. "I'm having lots of fun," she said. "But you're stealing beautiful things. You're taking things that don't belong to you. You're bad people." All three men pointed their guns at her and began to shoot. But Catwoman was too quick for them. She jumped away from the bullets and kicked the tall robber in the head. Then she kicked the fat robber's legs, and he fell to the ground with a loud thump. The short robber jumped at her from behind, but she suddenly sat on the floor. The short robber flew over her head and crashed into a big glass box. Catwoman looked at the three robbers on the floor. "Well, that wasn't very difficult," she said. She quickly collected all the jewelry on the floor and ran. Patience woke up and looked around the room. There was jewelry everywhere. Where did all this jewelry come from? She thought. She looked down and saw that she was still wearing her black leather clothes. And then she remembered. "Oh no! I can't believe that I did this. It's wrong, wrong, wrong." She found a paper bag and put all the jewelry inside, except the necklace with the diamond claws. "I can't take that back," she thought. "It's so beautiful." Tom Lone was head detective on the jewelry shop case. He was talking to the jeweler now. The jeweler showed him a photo of the necklace with the diamond claws. "It's a very special necklace," he said. "It's from Egypt, and it's the only one like it." "So what do you think about those three guys that we found here last night?" Tom asked one of the other policemen. "Do you believe their story?" "What are we going to call her?" called another. "Catgirl? Robber Cat?" "Come and look at this, Tom," shouted a third policeman just outside the shop door. He was pointing at a white box with a paper bag on top of it. Lone opened the bag. Inside was the jewelry, and on the box was the word, Sorry. Lone carefully opened the box. Is it something important? Asked the policeman. Yes, said Lone. Chocolate cakes. Patience was standing at the front door of Ophelia Power's house. Please help me, she said. I don't understand what's happening to me. Come in, said Ophelia. She took Patience into the library and showed her a large book. The book was called Bast, and it was written by Ophelia Powers. You're a writer? Asked Patience. Yes, said Ophelia. I was a university teacher for 20 years. She opened the book and pointed to an Egyptian work of art, a beautiful golden cat made of stone. This is the goddess Bast, she said. Midnight jumped onto the table and stood on the picture in the book. Midnight looks very like the cat in the picture, said Patience. Yes, Mao cats are very special in the Egyptian religion. They carry messages for Bast, said Ophelia. Bast is the goddess of the moon and the sun. She joins the two sides of all women, good and bad, hard and soft. But what about me? Asked Patience. I don't understand how. Ophelia stopped her. What happened the other night? I can't remember, Patience replied. She moved towards the window. I'll tell you then, said Ophelia. You died. What? Cried Patience. I didn't die. I'm here, aren't I? You're mad. You're completely mad. She jumped onto the windowsill, ready to attack. You died, Ophelia said again. But you were reborn. You were reborn by Bast's message carrier, the Mao. Midnight saved you. Patience began to remember. The terrible noise. The mountain of water crashing over her. Falling down, down, down into the river. And then a cat with golden eyes, Midnight, giving her life. She got down from the windowsill. You're not alone, Ophelia said. Mao cats have saved lots of others too. She showed Patience pictures of catwomen from many different countries. Some of the pictures were only a few years old. Others were from many centuries ago. Then she gave her a cat mask. So what should I do? Asked Patience. If I'm not Patience now, But you are Patience, Ophelia explained. You're a catwoman. You can see and hear and move much better than you did before. You can do all the things that a cat can do. And at the same time, you're still Patience. You're both. Accept who you are, and you can be free. Patience took all the claws off the necklace and put them on the fingers of her leather gloves. Then she used the claws to cut her leather jacket, her trousers, and her boots. As she worked, she began to remember more and more. She remembered running through the factory. She remembered Wesley and Armando chasing her with their guns. She put on her new cat mask and the clothes that she had designed. Then she looked down at her work table and saw a picture of George Hedera. She remembered that she had nearly died. It was time to get some answers. Chapter 6. Ahead for Heights. Catwoman ran and jumped across the rooftops to the Hedera factory. She was wearing her leather trousers and her long black gloves with the diamond claws. She wore 2 black belts across her stomach and the cat mask over her face and hair. She saw Armando outside the factory. He was getting into a car. When the car drove away, Catwoman followed, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. The car stopped at a nightclub. Catwoman followed Armando inside. The barman looked at Catwoman in surprise. "What can I do for you?" he asked. "I'd like a milk without the vodka. No ice." As she drank the glass of milk, she saw Armando going to the dance floor. She finished her milk and followed him. 2 dancers in black leather were dancing with a whip. Catwoman took the whip from them. "Excuse me," she said, as she began to dance, circling the whip around her. She moved towards Armando and cracked the whip close to his nose. Then she put it around his neck and pulled him to the back door. Armando flew through the door and fell on his back in the street outside. Catwoman jumped onto his stomach. Armando tried to get his gun, but Catwoman got it first and threw it away. "You don't know me, do you?" she said. "Well, I know you. You killed somebody a few nights ago. She was a good person. She was a friend of mine. Why did you do it?" Armando didn't answer. He was frightened.